On May 5, 1993, in West Memphis, Arkansas, three 8-year-old boys, Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore, were found dead in a shallow drainage ditch in the wooded Robin Hood Hills. The discovery shocked a grieving town of roughly 30,000. Parents watched schoolyards while police tape and officers cordoned off neighborhoods. News vans and flashing lights swarmed the area as investigators confronted what local residents called a nightmare. Children missing, then found dead in the underbrush. At a time when America was gripped by satanic panic, rumors of occult ritual and grotesque symbolism ricocheted through the media, amplifying fear and demanding swift answers. Crittenden County deputies faced intense public and political pressure to identify perpetrators and end the atmosphere of horror that settled over the community. The case's physical facts, the date, the Robin Hood Hills location, the victims' names, became rallying details for investigators, vigilantes, and national media. Nationwide attention turned the small town into a theater for speculation, true crime reporting, and moral outrage. Those conditions, grief-stricken families, frenzied media, and a climate of occult anxiety, set the stage for rapid arrests months later and a divisive legal battle that would last for decades. West Memphis sits in Crittenden County on the Mississippi River opposite Memphis, Tennessee, a community unaccustomed to such brutal crime and intense scrutiny. In the cold aftermath, investigators doubled down. By January 1994, pressure snapped into action and attention focused on three teenagers who looked and lived outside West Memphis norms. Jessie Misskelley Jr., a 17-year-old with borderline intellectual functioning, was brought in for questioning. Alone, exhausted, and without counsel, he endured a marathon interrogation lasting roughly 12 hours. And on January 6, 1994, police recorded a rambling, contradictory confession. That statement, later widely criticized as unreliable, named Damien Echols and Jason Baldwin, and described lurid, satanic-sounding details that inflamed a town already steeped in satanic panic. Misskelley recounted grotesque fragments and shifting timelines, and at times offered specifics that did not match the crime scene. Defense lawyers would seize on those discrepancies for years. Detectives pressed for coherence, steering and repeating questions, and the resulting confession read less like forensic precision and more like a fevered attempt to satisfy interrogators desperate for closure. Local media amplified the story into a national sensation. Headlines and TV segments framed Echols, Baldwin, and Misskelley as sinister outsiders and hinted at occult ritual, turning rumor into prosecutorial momentum. Subscribe. Maybe it will help us solve the case. The town's grief curdled into a hunger for blame, and police attention narrowed on the trio. Damien Echols' interest in dark imagery and unconventional dress provided an easy scapegoat. By the time arrests were formalized and indictments were filed in 1994, the stage was set. A community frightened by brutal loss, a contested confession at the heart of the case, relentless media spectacle, and three youths cast as villains, a combustible mix that pushed the conflict toward courtroom disaster in Act 2. In 1994, the case moved from gossip and grief into the fluorescent glare of courtroom drama in Crittenden County, Arkansas, where prosecutors built a narrative not on a smoking gun, but on a mosaic of circumstantial fragments and sensational testimony. They leaned heavily on Jessie Misskelley Jr.'s rambling January 6, 1994 statement, treating those tortured, inconsistent lines as a confession and stitching in lurid claims of occult ritual, satanic symbolism, and dark clothing to paint Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Misskelley as monstrous outsiders. There was little direct physical evidence tying the three teenagers to the shallow drainage ditch in Robin Hood Hills where Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore were found on May 5, 1993. Forensic links were thin or absent, yet the courtroom became a theater for grotesque insinuation. Witnesses described strange interests and unsettling behavior, and prosecutors turned personality and subculture into proof, while jurors, primed by local media and a town steeped in fear, responded. Defense teams were underfunded, often inexperienced, and hamstrung by limited access to forensic testing and expert witnesses who might have rebutted inflammatory claims about ritual and motive. Cross-examinations tried to undo Misskelley's coerced-sounding statement and to expose the spectacle of satanic panic, but hopes for acquittal eroded as prosecutors reworked their narrative for jurors. The result was brutal and swift. In separate 1994 trials, juries convicted all three young men. Damien Echols received a death sentence, while Jason Baldwin and Jessie Misskelley Jr. were sentenced to life behind bars. Those contested convictions, obtained amid fear, flimsy forensics, and scorched reputations, set the stage for a national outcry, appeals, and the long legal battle that follows in Act 3. After the 1994 convictions, the fight shifted into years of legal trenches, forensic re-examination, and relentless public scrutiny that steadily exposed flaws in the prosecution's theatrical narrative. Defense teams and pro bono lawyers filed appeals and post-conviction petitions in state and federal courts from the late 1990s through the 2000s, challenging the coerced January 6, 1994 statement in the absence of direct physical evidence tying Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr. to the shallow drainage ditch in Robin Hood Hills. Meanwhile, forensic science moved forward. Beginning in the mid-2000s, prosecutors allowed new testing of hairs, fibers, bloodstains, and the ligature using mitochondrial DNA and more sensitive STR methods. Tests run between roughly 2007 and 2010 failed to link Echols, Baldwin, or Misskelley to the victims. Some assays produced male DNA profiles that did not match any of the three, and multiple items once touted by police as decisive turned out to be inconclusive or contaminated. Parallel to the scientific unraveling, investigative journalists and storytellers kept the pressure on the system. Joe Berlinger and Bruce Sinofsky's Paradise Lost documentaries, 1996, 2000, 2011, and Mara Leverett's 2002 book Devil's Knot brought the grotesque facts back into view. The discovery on May 5, 1993, the boys' battered bodies, and the town's satanic panic, while exposing procedural flaws and prosecutorial zeal. National media coverage, petitions, benefit concerts, and celebrity advocates like Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder amplified public outrage, raised funds for testing and appeals, and forced prosecutors into public explanations. By the spring of 2011, the combination of unhelpful DNA results, mounting media pressure, sustained legal filings, and a transformed public opinion pushed the case to a legal flashpoint and set the stage for a dramatic resolution. In August 2011, after years of DNA testing that failed to link Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr. to the May 5, 1993 murders, and after relentless media pressure and repeated legal filings, prosecutors and defense attorneys negotiated a startling resolution. The three men entered Alford pleas, in which defendants maintain their innocence while acknowledging that prosecutors have enough evidence to secure convictions, and the state agreed to credit their time served. In a raw, surreal courtroom moment, the men were freed, walking out of prison after nearly 18 years behind bars for a brutal crime that had scarred West Memphis and haunted the nation. Their release was immediate and dramatic. Freedom granted without formal exoneration, convictions left on the record, and still no definitive answer about who inflicted the battered, bloody wounds found in Robin Hood Hills. The outcome felt both bitter and electrifying, closing one legal chapter while raising louder questions about wrongful conviction, forensic failures, prosecutorial zeal, and the families who continue to seek truth and accountability. After the August 2011 Alford pleas that secured the release of Damien Echols, Jason Baldwin, and Jessie Misskelley Jr., the West Memphis Three case became a touchstone for reform. Their release exposed wrongful convictions and coerced interrogation tactics, prompting renewed scrutiny of police practices, defense resources, and prosecutorial conduct. Advances in DNA testing and stricter forensic standards gained traction after testing failed to link the men to the Robin Hood Hills killings. Documentaries and high-profile supporters helped fund testing and shift public opinion. But the grieving families of Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore still want answers, and the search for the true perpetrators is unfinished. The men's years in prison left deep scars, and the case remains a stark reminder that the justice system can wound as surely as the crimes it seeks to punish.